Hey everyone, it's Kenji. I'm going to make some leftover turkey tom yum. So tom yum, it's a Thai soup. You know, we all know it. We all love it. Well, I have all this leftover turkey from Thanksgiving recipe testing, as well as this turkey broth I made. So I thought I'd make some tom yum with it. So tom yum nam kon I'm going to make, which is a tom yum soup with coconut milk. This is turkey broth, so all I did was take the bones from the turkey and simmer them with some aromatics. I did these with actually some Western aromatics, so, you know, onions, celery, and carrots, which are not the flavors of tom yum, obviously, but it's going to make a decent base for the actual flavors of the tom yum. So, I'm going to start with some galangal. I'm just going to trim off the end here. Oh, I love this all. The smell of galangal. It's sort of like, you know, it looks like ginger a little bit. It's a rhizome, but it has more of a sort of, I don't know, like a sort of mentholy, sweeter flavor with a bit of that sort of gingery spice. But we're going to drop this right into the broth. You know, typically you would make the broth from scratch. You can make it with chicken. You can make it with pork. You can make it with shrimp. But it works just fine with already made broth or store-bought broth. Already made broth is going to have more body. So second ingredient, lemongrass. Lemongrass, you typically only want to use the bottom portions of it because the tops don't have as much flavor, and they can be a little tough where, well, actually in this case it doesn't really matter if they're tough because we're going to be taking the lemongrass out. It's really just for the flavor. So I'm just going to peel off the kind of drier, less flavorful outer leaves. I'll trim off the very bottom, and then we're going to kind of whack it with the back of our knife. And the idea here is that we just want to kind of expose the core so that the flavor comes out more easily. I first learned to make this soup in Thailand. I went to a cooking school in Bangkok. You know, just like one of those one-day touristy type things. But we made tom yum, and it was delicious. I'm very closely following my friend Pailin. She has a YouTube channel called Hot Thai Kitchen, which is wonderful. I'm very closely following her recipe, although I am straying from it here and there. Well, first of all, she doesn't have a turkey recipe, but that's what we're doing here today because I got a lot of turkey at home. So these are makrut lime leaves. I have, you know, makrut lime leaves. I found these at Uwajimaya here in Seattle. You can get them at any sort of decent Asian market. Oh, sorry. What I'm doing, I'm folding them in half to expose the stem there, and then I'm just pulling the sort of more flavorful, more aromatic parts, the leaves off, and dropping them in. Makrut lime leaf, it smells wonderful, but it's a really distinct flavor. I have in the past, you know, when I lived in California, I had a lemon tree and a orange tree out back in the garden, and so I would make. Sometimes I would make the soup with a combination of lemon and orange rinds, and it tasted wonderful that way. A little bit different, but I think really delicious. So if you can't find those makrut lime leaves, what you can do is go and find, you know, especially during citrus season, you can find oranges or lemons or mandarins or whatever with the rind on, and use those. With the leaves on, and use those leaves to make a soup like this. These are Thai bird chilies. I'm just going to give them a little crush to expose some of their innards. So the flavors of this soup: hot and sour. So hot comes from the chilies, sour from the lime that we're going to add later, and then obviously it's also very, very aromatic. So it has those flavors of lemongrass. It has the flavors of cilantro, which we'll add in at the end. The lemongrass, lime leaves, and chilies are sort of the main flavor in the broth. I'm also going to add a shallot into here. You could use an onion. You can use a Thai shallot if you have it. Thai shallots tend to be much smaller and a little bit sort of more garlicky in flavor. So sharp in a different way than a regular sort of European shallot is, but not quite as sort of I don't know. They, you know, regular European shallots I find sometimes have that sort of oniony pungency, you know, that sort of sulfurous aroma, whereas Thai shallots tend not to. They tend to have a sort of garlicky smell, but without as much sort of heat as garlic does. All right, so I'll put half that shallot in the broth, and I'll save the other half because we're going to strain that broth out. I'll save the other half for later on. What else do I want? Oh, I want some garlic cloves. Let me go grab those. There we go, and that's our basic broth. You know, so you saw when I added this turkey stock to here, when I got it out of the container, it was in the fridge. It was gelatinous. It was like Jell-O, you know. And the reason it is gelatinous is because the connective tissue in the turkey, and turkey legs have a lot of connective tissue. The connective tissue in the turkey, the collagen converts to gelatin when you simmer it over time. And that gelatin is what gives broths their body. So when it comes out gelatinous like that, that is a good sign that you did it well and that you simmered it for long enough to really extract all of that gelatin out of there. And even when it's hot, you know, it looks liquid now, but it is thicker than than a store-bought broth would be, or definitely much thicker than water. And that's a good sign. That means that there's a lot of protein in there, and it means that it's going to have a lot of flavor. And it also means that it's going to have, more importantly, it means it's going to have a really sort of rich mouth-coating texture. So, you know, you don't often think about broths as having texture. You think of them as sort of watery, but if you taste the difference between a really good homemade, or restaurant-made broth that is gelatinous when it's chilled versus, say, a store-bought broth, which doesn't have much protein or much gelatin in it at all, it's sort of night and day. You know, it's what makes, for me, that's like the difference between a great soup and a pretty darn good soup. This one's going to be great. If you did it with store-bought broth, it would still be pretty darn good. Okay, I have also these honshimeji and shimeji mushrooms. I trimmed them. I'm just going to put the stems into there to give it a little more flavor. You could also do this with straw mushrooms, or in English these are called beach mushrooms, by the way. But you could also do this with straw mushrooms. You could do it with shiitake if you want. You could do it with oyster mushrooms. Oyster mushrooms, I think, are probably the most common way to do this. But I had these honshimeji that were kind of languishing in my fridge, so I'm using those. All right, so it's coming up to a simmer now. Well, coming up to a boil, I'd say, over high heat. And then I'm going to reduce it down to just a really bare simmer. And because these are all vegetables, you know, vegetables tend to release their flavors. Oh, God, that smells good. Pretty quickly. So the turkey broth itself simmered for a few hours to extract all that gelatin. But vegetables don't have that kind of protein that requires heat to really convert. And so these are going to give it their flavor pretty quickly. So we only need to really simmer it for maybe, 15 minutes or so. But I will be back in 15 minutes or so. All right. So now I'm just going to scoop out these aromatics. Oftentimes you'll find, oh my God, that smells good. Oftentimes you'll find that, you know, this soup is served with the chunks in, you know, and diners are kind of just expected to eat around that stuff, but I like to give it a light scooping so that you don't end up with any errant chunks of galangal or, you know, anything else in there. All right, bring this back up to a simmer. I'm going to add my mushrooms. I'm going to add some sliced shallot. I got this chunk of a tomato that I'm just going to cut into slices. So tomato is, you know, it's a common ingredient in tom yum soup with, say, you know, chicken or pork. Often you won't find tomato in tom yum soups with shrimp. The reason being that with shrimp, you'll typically add instead some of this, which is chili paste, Thai chili jam. You know, so this is made with shrimp shells fermented with chilies and soybeans and sugar. I like the tomatoes in there. I think they give it a little bit extra umami. And although, you know, Pailan says that this is typically reserved for shrimpy tom yum soups, I'm going to add it to my turkey one anyway because I just like the flavor of it. So we're going to stir that, let it all dissolve in there. I'll get my turkey meat in there also. This is just leftover turkey that I shredded up by hand. You could, you know, you could do this with a rotisserie chicken if you had. You can take the chicken, pick off the meat, and then make a stock with the bones, and you'd end up with a very sort of similar result here. We're gonna season it with some fish sauce. That's the salty element. I'm also gonna squeeze in a lime here. I got 2 limes. I'm going to start with 1 and sort of taste it and make sure that there's enough lime juice in there. But I'm going to let this simmer just for a moment, just so that those tomatoes soften up. And then we'll come back and taste this, and we want to adjust it for everything. You know, for sweetness, the chili jam is pretty sweet. But if it needs more sweetness, we could add some sugar. We'll adjust it for saltiness and pungency with the fish sauce. We'll adjust it for sourness with the lime juice. And then we'll just finish it off with some fresh garnishes, and it'll be ready to eat once those mushrooms and tomatoes are cooked through. Oh, it's already so good though. All right, I will see you back here in a few minutes. All right, so our mushrooms are cooked through, our tomatoes are sort of falling apart, which is what you want. Oh, by the way, Pailan says, you know, when you don't have chili paste, that's when you'd want to use tomatoes and a little bit of sugar. I think I might have already mentioned this, but anyway, that's when you want to use tomatoes and sugar. The tomatoes add the umami, the sugar adds the sweetness to balance out the heat and the acid and everything. But I just like going full bore and doing everything. All right, so that's gonna finish up while I just make a couple garnishes. I'm gonna take a couple Thai chilies. Give them a real rough chop. Get them into my mortar and pestle. I'm just going to pound them into a kind of very rough paste. That's going to add just a little bit more heat. You can skip this if you are heat sensitive, you know, but I find that one of the things with Thai food is that when it's not hot enough, the sweetness and the saltiness and all those other flavors can kind of be overwhelming, you know? And so you kind of need that heat and saltiness and acidity and sweetness all to balance each other out. And so, you know, I know that it takes some getting used to eat really hot foods. And Thai food, I would say, is some of the hottest in the world. Some of, not the hottest in the world, but some of it. And so it pays to, you know, really sort of get used to that heat because it will really balance out those other sort of sweet flavors. If you've ever had like takeout Thai food, ordered it mild and thought, oh, this is so sweet, it's probably just because there isn't enough heat balancing it out. Oh, God, yeah. All right, I'm going to add just a touch more chili jam. This is really one of my favorite things in the world. Have I said that? If you don't have turkey, you don't have a rotisserie chicken, you know, tom yum goong is the most common form of this soup. So that's made with shrimp. It cooks really fast because shrimps, they make really quick stock and they add a lot of flavor. So I would recommend if you're interested in making this quick with a sort of shrimpy seafood based broth, go to Pailan's website, Hot Thai Kitchen. She's on YouTube. She has a website. She's from Canada, or she's from Thailand and lives in Canada, and she is wonderful and has excellent Thai recipes. All right, so finally, the thing that converts this from just tom yum to tom yum nom ka is coconut milk. I shook this a little bit before because what happens is as it sits on the supermarket shelf, the fat will all collect at the top. And sort of the water will be at the bottom, which is a good thing if you're making a curry, because with the curry, you want to kind of scoop out the fat and use it to fry your aromatics. But with a soup like this, I like to shake it up so that you get an even mix of the fat and the water. I'm going about half a can in there. We'll just let that coconut fat melt into there. Give it one final taste. Oh God, it's so good. All right, and then I will get it into my bowl. I'm just gonna make myself a bowl here first, and then I'll go over and share this with Tessa, who's practicing some Paganini right now. I finish that off with some cilantro leaves. And let's try this. Oh, it smells so good. Aromatic, that lemongrass, the lime leaf, the galangal. And you can see how nice and sort of rich this broth is. That's both from the really nice turkey stock I made, as well as from the coconut milk. The coconut milk adds body to it too. This is, I think, the best way to eat Thanksgiving leftovers. God, I don't even need the chunks. I could just sip on that broth. All right, I'm gonna go bring this over to Tessa. But anyway, leftover turkey tom yum soup. Guys, gals, non-binary pals, I will see you later.